Picture this, folks. The White House. President Cyril Ramaphosa, South Africa's main man, was there. He was probably expecting the usual diplomatic dance, talk, trade, discuss global partnerships. Then, bam! Out of nowhere, a reporter lobs a question. This wasn't about the weather in Pretoria or his favorite type of tea. The question was about South Africa's relationship with Russia. And just to add a little more gunpowder, it touched on the controversial arms shipment scandal, the whole Lady R saga. Suddenly, the temperature in that very important room seemed to drop a few degrees. Imagine the scene. One minute you're discussing policy, the next you're staring down the barrel of a geopolitical landmine. All eyes snap towards Ramaphosa. The cameras are rolling, microphones are live, ready to capture every flicker of an eyelid. This wasn't just a question, it was a test. The question hung in the air, heavy and loaded, waiting for Ramaphosa to either defuse it or watch it explode. So, there he is, President Ramaphosa. The spotlight is blazing, the question about Russia and the arms deal hanging in the air. What does he do? He just stayed calm, impossibly, incredibly calm, like he'd been expecting it all along. He didn't flinch, he didn't stutter. Instead, he offered a measured response. He acknowledged the question, which is always a good start. Then, with the composure of a seasoned negotiator, he addressed the point without getting drawn into a verbal mud fight. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't get defensive. He simply laid out South Africa's position calmly and clearly. Think about the pressure. You're in the White House, the global media is watching, and someone just threw a diplomatic grenade at your feet. But Ramaphosa? He seemed to absorb the shockwave, process it, and then respond with an almost serene level of control. It was a masterclass in keeping your cool when the heat is on full blast. He transformed a potential crisis into a moment of quiet strength, leaving the aggressor with little to work with. Now let's talk about the other people in that room. The journalists, the aides, the White House staffers. You can bet your bottom dollar or rand that there were some sharp intakes of breath when that Russia question dropped. Imagine the scribbling of pens suddenly pausing, the clicking of cameras becoming a little more intense. These are folks who live for these moments, the unscripted dramas that can shift narratives and make careers. They were probably expecting fireworks, a heated exchange, or at least a very flustered president. When Ramaphosa responded with such unnerving calm, you could almost hear the collective "huh" in the room. The reporters who thrive on conflict might have been a tad disappointed, but others, especially those who appreciate the finer points of diplomacy, would have been impressed. It was a live demonstration of statesmanship. Section 4. Mzansi Magic, South Africa's social media eruption. Back home in South Africa, you know how we do. The moment that clip hit the internet, social media probably went into overdrive. Forget load shedding for a minute, the real electricity was online. South Africans from Cape Town to Musina would have been glued to their phones, watching their president on the world stage. And when they saw his cool, calm, and collected response to that tricky Russia question, the reactions would have been swift and, for the most part, overwhelmingly positive. The hashtags would have started trending almost immediately. Something like #Ramaphosa calm or #Cyril handles the heat. People love to see their leaders representing them well, especially in high-pressure situations. There would have been countless comments praising his composure. That's our president, one might say. Showing the world how it's done, another would add. Many would have seen it as a sign of strong leadership, a testament to his experience as a negotiator. It was a moment of national pride for many. Beyond the jokes and the praise, there's a deeper sentiment. Section 5, the what-if game, how other leaders might have melted. Now, let's play a little game of what if. Imagine that same White House room, that same loaded question about Russia and arms deals. But instead of Cyril Ramaphosa at the podium, let's picture some other world leaders. How would they have reacted? It's fun to speculate, right? Some leaders are known for their fiery tempers, others for their awkward silences. Think about a leader known for, shall we say, a more robust communication style, someone like perhaps a former US president famous for his rallies and his very direct tweets. Faced with that question, he might have gone on the offensive. The point is, Ramaphosa's calm isn't the default setting for everyone. Section 6. Decoding the diplomacy experts unpack the calm. So, was Ramaphosa's serene response just a fluke? Was he simply having a good day? Or was there a method to his magnificent mellowness? Well, the experts, those clever folks who spend their lives analyzing political chess moves, had a lot to say. Many of them pointed to Ramaphosa's long history as a negotiator. This is a man who was instrumental in South Africa's transition to democracy. He's used to high-stakes discussions where keeping a cool head is paramount. This wasn't his first rodeo with difficult questions. International relations analysts widely praised his approach, often describing it as textbook diplomacy. In the world of international politics, appearing flustered or angry can be seen as a sign of weakness or a lack of control. By contrast, Ramaphosa's calmness projected strength and stability. It signaled that South Africa was not going to be easily rattled or pushed into a corner. This kind of non-reactive stance can be incredibly powerful in diplomatic settings. Section 7, the final bow, was silence truly golden. So, as the dust settled and the news cycle moved on to the next big thing, the question lingered: was Ramaphosa's calm, collected response the absolute best way to handle that White House hot potato? In the complex, often theatrical world of international diplomacy, there's rarely a single right answer. Every action has its pros and cons, its supporters and its critics. But looking back, it's hard to argue against the effectiveness of his approach in that specific moment. One could argue that a more forceful denial or a stronger counter-accusation might have played better to certain audiences. However, the risk of such an approach is significant. The beauty of Ramaphosa's calm was that it disarmed the ambush. By refusing to be drawn into an emotional spectacle, he maintained his dignity and, by extension, that of his country. In a world often dominated by noise and outrage, his calm was indeed a powerful statement.